man. The shots, man. Sheesh. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Greetings.
Oh, my gosh. I have not seen you guys in 12 years of slave. Don't know when I'll see you guys again.
A long time. I
miss y'all, man. Really miss y'all. It's real, man. You know what I mean? Like, the group chat is cool, but it's like that in-person chemistry is real, you know what I'm saying?
Is.
So, yeah, man.
It's a beautiful thing. Truly a beautiful thing.
For sure.
Yeah. Y'all doing okay, though? Well, I know we just talked, Kyra, but my bad.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's totally fine. What about you guys? How's everybody doing? How's everybody living right now?
Good.
Okay, I'm blessed in this coronavirus. I just realized it the other day. I was like, you know what, Lawrence? And I said, what? You blessed. I'm like, yeah.
Word up. Definitely feel that. Yeah, you know, cool, calm, collected, copacetic, taking time, you know, processing things and peaceful for real. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to chiming in and listening to the content, how it's going to flow. But, yeah, I'm cooling for real.
Okay. All right, bet. Wait, Lauren, why are you joining?
Mm-hmm.
You're up here twice.
Oh, hold on.
Lawrence, is that your baby picture in the background?
Oh. Okay. You're on mute.
My future son. So if y'all ever want to know what my future son gonna look like, he probably gonna look like
It looks like John Legend.
Yes!
Oh my gosh, man. Yo. What is happening?
In heaven,
right
God puts all the light-skinned people in a little basket. And when he kind of used some of the same stuff when he making us. So you know it's all in
Bro, I'm about to cry tears of joy over here, man. I'm laughing, man. Jeez. Oh man.
It was like light skin.
Oh my God. Lawrence.
Good.
Texas.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hey, Rob, we gonna see the wave reveal?
That's what it
I hope y'all know how to do. I hope y'all know how to do. That's all I gotta tell you. Serious, man. That's why I had to conceal.
Oh, he said I could see.
Are they swimming?
Nah, man. I mean, if y'all, you know.
Oh, Lawrence.
Okay. Hold on, let me put my door on mute so I.
But how did you get a fade in the quarantine?
Hey, man. Some things can. Hey, look. It was the last one, man. It was the last one, you know what I'm saying, for a while, because I'm going to get all, you know what I'm saying, I don't know, Neanderthal or whatever, but yeah, like.
Is he an essential employee?
I mean, you know, let's chat about it.
Yeah, I got a line like, doesn't look like it, but I got it about like 3 weeks ago.
Yo, hey,
I got a line,
you
but
had me
it
weak
doesn't
on
look
Twitter,
like it.
dog, because he was talking about the daggone getting the surgery. I'm like, yo, what do you mean? And, oh, man. Yo, you said it looked extra.
Bro, they gotta be paid like surgeons, bro. I'm telling you, cause I've seen us during this last month and a half. Looking like Roots extras.
That is the more kizzy. All the
Chicken George.
the whole family, okay? The whole family. Okay, Sam. Okay.
Let me tear you down.
Hurting.
Color purple in there too.
Yeah, I'm all of it.
Good grief, Charlie Brown.
Yeah. I mean, are y'all good though? Like, overall, I know this is like unorthodox times. Like 2020 has just been two-piecing us for the last 4 months. But I mean, are y'all good doing wellness check? No.
But to be honest, like I really am good. I really don't have a true reason to complain. I still have both of my jobs, but granted, both of my jobs is right with the coronavirus. So it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like I wake up every morning like
Checking your throat.
I'll be like, okay, this is the third cough today. All right, chill out. And
That's real.
but like money and stuff has been good. But it 2020 has been hard being with all the deaths.
Oh yeah.
And like the fact that, you know, Corona has closed everything down. I have two friends whose mothers, both of them have died. One from a drug overdose and the other one from cancer. And it's just like, dang, it ain't even the coronavirus and people out here dying. And then it's like, what's it called? And then because of the coronavirus, people you can't grieve or have a decent funeral because only 10 people can go. And if you're from an ethical family, that's just the intermediate family, 10 people.
That might be the people in the house.
literally. So I'm like, so who comes to the funeral?
Man,
so we can't even be extra at the funeral because of coronavirus.
Wow.
So
rest in peace to them. And condolences to them. That's wow.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy.
For sure. How about you guys? Kyra?
Rob, you can go if you
Madam
want.
Babel.
Oh my God. Oh, that still exists.
Of course.
To this day.
Loyalty.
To this day.
I mean, honestly, I feel fine. Like I do. I had like an emotional meltdown at work today. It was a much needed one though. I think like it's been cool, like finding like little pockets of sunshine in the ghettos. You know, people are still barbecuing outside my apartment. And still having functions. I really want to be like Barbecue Becky and call the police, but I don't think that's a good idea. Literally. But I don't think that's a good idea. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I think that it's been cool, like growing much closer spiritually with my roommate, which has been really cool. But I think like just I had like accepted like that all this was happening like when it first started. But I think in terms of like now starting to feel everything is what it is. Like I'm like, okay, I really do feel closed in. I really like need to find toilet paper. Like I really do need to find like just simple things like and small things like kind of being like, oh, like I miss hugging people and being really extroverted and like just missing like friends and missing like going to get drinks with people. Having fun, like literally, Lawrence, literally. Okay, you're a whole meme and a GIF and everything. The aches and the shakes. But literally, like I just
mother sugar.
Like I miss what it was, but I think I've really begun to feel really appreciative of like how much I wasn't thankful for a lot of things before. And I think it's been really like cool to like relearn how to be thankful. And I really miss Chipotle. I really miss Chipotle. So much.
I feel you.
Y'all, Grubhub is expensive. I just want to put that out there.
And they be stealing.
And then they don't even give you the food. They just leave it at the door. I'm like, a raccoon could have came and grabbed my Chick-fil-A.
A raccoon.
Are you going to leave it unattended? At least be at the car and be like, wait till I get in and be like, doot, doot, doot.
That and DoorDash.
But you just leave it and drive off?
They're like the UPS workers. I swear they're like Olympic sprinters. Doorbell ring, they halfway down the block already.
Right, and just throw your package.
Crazy.
Just disrespectful in these streets.
Yeah.
I feel so like archaic because I haven't used either of those, but I kind of felt the way in that when they closed like my local pizza joint, because it's always open. You know, I might go there and get the two slice special with the little soda. You know what I'm saying? And see my people's, hey, what's going on? You know what I mean? And now it's like, oh, tumbleweeds. Like, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, peaceful, man. Peaceful, you know what I'm saying? Been creating and actually working on a project, man. So, you know, I can keep that on the wraps, you know, but y'all will definitely be privy when I'm putting it out. But just peaceful, came to some realizations, some epiphanies, and kind of pouring into, I guess, more between spiritually and also just realizing certain things about, of course, this time is really unique and abnormal, scary, stressful, a lot of sentiments. But I think just being able to sit in the silence, and I've watched enough Netflix and TV, and I'm like, man, let me just pick up the pen and see what it do, and it's been flowing, you know what I mean? So that's kind of my way of self-care and self-love and things like that. And of course, talks with God and walking through, you know, and walking in that faith, man, you know. And I think this is the time to go back to the drawing board. I call it internal inventory in terms of cleaning out some of that clutter. You know, that could be tidying up. It might be tidying up relationships, friendships, and things. And it might be losing some people to gain some, you know, some, like, all right, I need to call so-and-so, you know what I mean? Or call auntie, you know? So a lot of those, like, baby steps have been taken, and, you know, it brought me into a pretty peaceful place. So I'm grateful for sure.
That's good, man. That's good. Yeah, it sounds like everyone's on a macro scale is doing pretty good. I was feeling for you, Lawrence, man. I know they got you working, and so you've definitely been in my prayers, especially. Of course, not favoritism, but just knowing in the industry you work in, like, man, I know, heads on a swivel. Looking at everybody calling.
Hey, stay on a swivel.
That's good. But salute to you and all of y'all, because y'all are all pretty much essential workers too. So shout out to y'all. Like, y'all appreciate it. Salute.
Thank you.
It's a process.
All right. Don't tell your rocket to the cup now. All right.
Yo. Oh my God. So without further ado, all right, let me pull up this. I should have this. I'm gonna just pull it up on my phone. Bong. Yo, that is it. I picked up like so much lingo from him. Mad soggy.
You out here looking mad soggy, bro.
Mad soggy.
A few individuals.
Oh man. Shout out to Risen. But so the hot topic. Hot toddy. What I do?
Yo, we going back to the mall, dog. Let's go to hot topic. Get some t-shirts.
My mug.
Nah, that t-shirt's still there. I can't even lie, dog. Can't even lie.
We COVID.
Oh, man.
The 19th. The Roni. Where can we start?
Coronavirus.
Actually, I had a funny way of funny analogy of kind of conceptualizing, you know, Corona, because it's really, to me, it's like two probably best friends up in a treehouse. It's Tina, quarantine, and Corona. So they're just cooling and like causing wrecking havoc, and like, yeah, they gonna stay in the house. They gonna know me. They gonna know my name, Tina. You know what I mean? And then you got Rona like, girl, you right. You know, I'm gonna do something too. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, it's wild. And honestly, I don't know. I mean, that's how my mind works, man. You know what I'm saying? But the real deal. I think you can look at the numbers and the facts and stuff, but for me personally, it's a little different when you can put a face to a name. And two of my homies actually have it. One of them actually just beat it, and my other homie, he's doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? And they're not here. They're elsewhere. One of my homies is in New York. My other homie's in the military. Man. He's overseas. So it hits a little differently, you know, and seeing the stress. And actually, I work at a Home Depot now. And just being in the mix of people and seeing how it's a real thing, like it's a real tangible thing in terms of proximity, space, social distancing. And I think a lot of the terms are maybe being thrown around in a certain way. And I think we'll get to that when we speak about 45s and competence. But just you know what I mean? Just like it's really interesting to see how something like this, I mean, and even thinking about the new normal, it's going to be shifted, man. You know, this looks like it might be a reoccurring thing. And it looks like they was able to manage 1 through 18, but 19 was like, I'm gonna do something. Hold up, man. It might be 2020, but I'm still good money type deal. You know what I mean? Right. So it's really interesting and intriguing. And I think we got to be careful. We got to take our time, and you know. And but I think it's honestly God's way of sitting everybody down and be like, look, cherish the people that cherish your loved ones, man. Cherish this time on Earth because it is limited. You know, so trying to take a macro, micro. You know what I mean, and try to just keep pushing forward, stay positive. You know.
No doubt. Yeah, COVID-19 started acting grown. What do they see?
Full grown.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's this year has just like not been chilling. Like it's Kobe and Gigi and the rest of those folks who passed away in that crash, and then Pop Smoke, and then it was just like, yo, what's up? But it's been tough. Like and these stats are crazy. And because like Johns Hopkins had like this like living map that like updates like by the second. So I think in the US alone is a confirmed over 722,000 cases. And mind, this is within like the last month, and it's about 34K or 34,000 deaths, but there have been 65,000 recoveries. But from the people who have had it, that I know or who've recovered from it as well, they said it's like the worst. It's like not like a regular flu. It's like so you see why, like, you know, the elderly especially, and us, you know what I mean, like have been you know, disproportionately affected, because it's just, you know, we, you know, and keep it a buck, like we aren't the healthiest population, you know what I mean, like, and you know, that's for a myriad of things, but when something like this sweeps us, it's like it really hits us. So it's just crazy how it's really just wiping us out like this, you know. So hopefully people have some common sense when this weather starts to change. But I just feel it. Like I just feel like when 4th of July hits, people are gonna bug out. Like people bugged out in DC at the wharf. I don't know if y'all saw that a couple of weeks back. They shut down the wharf. So it's just a lot of people. You can just tell who the kids were that like misbehaved and were like acting grown when they're kids, like are adults now and just doing what they want to do. It's crazy. So I honestly don't think we'll be out
anytime
until like the fall at the earliest. Like at the earliest.
The fall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, like I think on Monday, there was like 4,500 people who died in like 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and in New York City, there was about like 600 people. From like one day, it was like 600, and then 630.
It's crazy. It's not slowing down. And as the weather gets warmer, people just going to want to do what they want to do.
They just opened up like some leeway in Texas and Florida. They just opened up some leeway. And actually, I was driving home with a coworker today, and a bar was like open today. Like people were hanging out in a bar. And I work in like the food service industry, and we're doing like curbside pickup. I mean, like,
Lord.
Even that.
I felt it. I felt that.
Somehow still find a way to get on your nerves, even just on the phone. You're just talking to them on the phone, not in person. And Becky, Sarah, Annie, and Johnny, they always find a way to get on the phone, even on the phone. But it's been interesting even seeing like how the dynamic is with like people just not wanting to take the time. Curbside pickup, I think, has kind of even just helped some local businesses in a lot of ways. Because I know this is definitely taking like a serious toll on like your average workers, and especially Black and brown people are like everyday like workers, you know.
Right.
Some people just don't have the luxury to sit at home,
right,
and work from home. I wish I did. I really wish I did, but that's just not where I'm at in my life right now. But and just in seeing like how people.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I'm shook. Dying.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback
off
of Kyra's point. Yeah, you know, I believe I'm seeing a different type of environment, but a lot of the similarities, like a lot of, you know, blue collar contractors, and I'm sure they're probably doing essential jobs and things and fixing, you know, electricity and toilets, blah, blah, blah. But I've seen a few people come in the depot and I'm like, hey man, you need to go home and not be here because your state of mind is not like we had one guy. He was man, he cussed up enough for like 3 sailors, you know what I'm saying? He came through with a big cart, and we do have people, and I've done it before, where excuse me, where they you know, we keep count of terms of capacity because it's not like normal things, because we had to keep track of the number of customers in the store, you know, and I feel like, you know, I'm like a bouncer at a club type, you know, with the counter, and you know what I'm saying?
It's too many people in here.
So we gotta like, hey, you know, hold up. We gotta wait a little bit, you know. And we're gonna keep going. Just hold on, please. Hold yours, please. Hold everybody, you know, hold your kids, hold it. And usually it's cool, but we have had like that one guy. He came through and he was pushing his big cart, and I'm thinking, hey, bro, I want to be cool, so I'm gonna just get out the way or get ran over, you know, whatever. But he ended up coming back and apologizing, thankfully. But there's only one entrance, so of course people that park on the other side gotta walk over here. Some people, I gotta walk all the way over there. And I've heard some pretty distasteful comments. I'm like, dang, dog, like, are y'all here for that? Or number 2 is like people who might be bored doing projects, gardening and stuff. So it's a weird mixture knowing the climate and on the smoothness, but also saying that, hey man, America is capitalist, so people gonna do kind of what they want to do, and some people don't have, I think, empathy in regard for certain, you know, impacts like this. But it's a really interesting dynamic. I'll say that it's very, you know, structure, you know, keep moving on.
Yeah, because it interrupts people's convenience. Everybody's just used to their regular bougie life of being able to go to Harris Teeter and park where they want to park at the same place, do the same thing, and get their stuff as much as they want. And now everything has been put on a limit. You gotta come in this. Only 10 people can be in this building at this time, or you can only come in from this time to this time.
Right.
So, because the time period we're in, it's just not going to be packaged up nicely for you.
Right.
I also don't think that this will be, and the reason why I also just don't think this will be over, like Sterling says, until fall, is because, like, let's say, like, and honestly, like, let's be honest, like, let's say when they begin to open up, like, they start lifting, like, the social distance bans and all that. Like, you still, let's say we have a vaccine by then. We still, as people are still starting to come out, people will still get infected because there's some people that are still asymptomatic. So, like, people will still get sick and people will still die.
Yeah.
And so I just think that, like, it's going to be really random, and, like, it's going to be an outer body experience to, like, really see people, like, without mask on and gloves on one day. But I think that it'll definitely teach us, I mean, I hope that it honestly is, and that it will teach us to honestly cherish and respect things a lot differently in the future. Because I honestly think that just even due to that, when the weather happens, I don't see this. There are people barbecuing outside right now.
Lord have mercy. And and what's wild is like with this, because I think it was the Spanish flu. I think that was like the last big pandemic of this scale. So I think in the first wave, and I think people had their quarantine back then. So I think, and then correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like 3 to 5 million, and then the second wave was like 15 to 20. So it was like after people came back, it just almost tripled in the death toll. So I'm trying to think. Well, I wouldn't say that I wasn't like thinking positive, but just being realistic is like it's only gonna get worse if people keep moving the way they keep moving. So
I did. Is it okay if I say something?
Yes.
Y'all start this up again.
I don't ask for permission. I ask for forgiveness, son.
I think something that I've found very interesting, and I don't know, I feel like this kind of maybe hasn't been brought up or hasn't really been thought about very much, is I feel like in a lot of ways, whenever there tends to be crisis, I know in a lot of other like racial groups have experienced like being scapegoats, but I may be reaching, but I do feel that Black people are becoming the scapegoats at this particular time for this virus, particularly as it's happening with like Black Africans in China right now.
I've seen that too.
And I think more specifically, and I find it very interesting that like you tend to find that a lot of non-Black POCs really want inclusion with Black people, but they never, ever, ever want to be like allies and accountable allies with Black people. And I haven't to see any non-Black POCs even say anything whatsoever about the discrimination and physical, like little physical, like this person that is literally being placed on like Black people in like China right now. But I find that it's very interesting that it's like no matter where, and Blackness is like a national, it's like we are everywhere. But that like somehow in some way, shape or form, like man really finds himself in a position to still like put Black people like down on the ground and put their boot on their neck. And almost as if like, and to my knowledge, like Black people in China were not contributing factors to this virus being created and spread. But I find it very interesting that like in some way, shape or form, Black people are somehow becoming the scapegoats for this disease. And that means whether it's happening internationally in another country, but even so much so here, because like, and I think maybe I think I thought the same thing too, that like this thing was really not going to affect Black people on a multiple scale. But I think the reality of things is that we see rich always tend to buy their way in to escaping poverty or escaping like apocalyptic circumstances. And it would seem honestly that those who have the least always have to pay the most, and those who don't have a lot of things that are disposable would in some way, shape, or form feel the brunt of what happens naturally. And those who have more money, they can just survive better. And so I think in some way, shape, or form, it's honestly kind of interesting that that's like not really more so being discussed on a grand scale. But it also is really sad just to kind of see people. I mean, they literally were not letting this one Black woman go into a building, like letting her go into the mall, but they let her white friend go into the mall.
Wow.
Really surreal.
Come on, man.
And also to piggyback off of what Kyra was saying, I actually saw that video today. It was on Sean King. Yeah, Sean King.
Okay.
Sean King, he had posted it on his page, and then I saw in the comments that there was this other Asian guy, and he brings up the fact of just like, but he's just like, no one has brought up the fact that how the anti-Asian discrimination that the Asian community has faced at the hand of Black people. I just remember a couple months ago during the beginning when Jeannie Mai had posted this whole video, I think of this group of Black people making fun of this Asian man. And I just think, not to say that one community it needs to be reprimanded for the other, but I think that there is some just hatred all across the board, and I just think it shouldn't be tolerated on any level. I think there was another thing that he had wrote about, the guy had wrote about in the comments. He had said something along the lines of how China's anti-blackness is just mirrored of American anti-blackness. And I wasn't sure if I fully 100% agree with his statement that the Asian guy was making in the comments. And then I went to go see his likes because he had about like 1,000 or so likes, and it was a lot of white people and, and Asian people, and maybe like 1 or 2 speckles of black. But and so I think, but I do agree to a certain extent, because I knew like when it came to China, when black people go there, that they view us as like, you know, criminals, like all the stereotypical things, right? And then when we get over there, they want to touch us and put their hands on us. Oh my God, black. So, but it's like, but also too, I correlated it to the recent issues with TikTok. And what we know is that TikTok is a Chinese company. And what we've been seeing, the racist issues with TikTok is like all the white creators are at the top and all the black creators are at the bottom. And then all of these racist videos that have been showing up on TikTok. And I think that has something to do with some of the racial issues that are anti-blackness that's in China, and the anti-blackness that I think is being mirrored in the United States. I don't condone hate across the board for Asian community. I don't support the hate at all for the black community, but I do think that in this time period, both minority groups are getting the short end of the stick.
I get that too. Oh, before we continue, Rob, why are you in the dark, bro?
I know.
I was trying to charge my phone.
You know, let me see if this phone works.
Okay.
All right.
All
right, this better.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, we want to see the face and the swimmies.
Guppies.
But yeah, I think we could talk about this forever, but it's just funny not funny, but just the energy of 45. Like, I don't know if y'all saw I don't even know where to start, but it's just like, I think Biden, and I should have tagged this in the itinerary, but like Biden put out this campaign video where he kind of like showcased like his energy, essentially, not Biden's, but Trump's energy from like the beginning when we heard about this to like where we are now. And it's even to the point, like in another ad, that like Trump and like his administration were trying to like get all this propaganda taken down of like, really it was just audio recordings of like what he was saying about a month or so ago to where we are now. So it's just, if this isn't showing people what Trump's motives are, I don't know what is. And like, I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, I'm like, bro, like, he said this was not a big deal. This should clear up by, what do you say, like April 15th?
By Easter for the kids.
Easter. That's what he said. That's what he said. Here we are now. The death toll is at almost 35,000 in a month almost. It's just like, come on, bro. Like, you're really showing yourself. Right? And like, shout out to the folks who still support him through this. I'm like, hey, that's loyalty.
I don't know.
Loyalty.
I don't know. It's like a shout. I don't know, like not shout out, but like
You said not shout out.
Just like why though? Because I know a few really competent, intelligent people who support him. I'm like, man, dog, like get you that boy. Oh boy, I don't even want to like, cause yeah, man, I think people personally forget about just Trump prior to presidency and he's had a lot of definitely shaky narratives, and I think even him running for president was like a running joke, but I think he kind of realized, this can be a power move, and him.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, he be all about the money moves, because I mean, you see Trump property, blah blah blah, real estate, yada yada. Okay, cool for your pockets, but he's also the same person who put out the ad in the New York Times about the Central Park 5, and that's not to be taken lightly. He's thinking about his rhetoric, especially towards immigration and things. So I mean, people might see him as all the the apprentice, but that's only a piece of the beast. You know what I mean? So it's a lot to take in, and I think that honestly, part of the Corona narrative is to put him back in office in November. Frankly, I hate to say it like that, but I think it's a lot of these moves are chess moves, man. He tried to downplay Corona and but when it hits, it's like, oh man, But I read some documents, some like, what I'm saying, I could send it to y'all if y'all want, but it's basically saying the powers that be knew something was coming. They knew something in January. So it's like, now they kind of looking wild, kind of crazy. But it'll be really wild to see how things turn out these next few months, and especially in November. But yeah, man, it's trying to digest, I guess,
And I think even just which kind of goes back to the point too, that a lot of people have even definitely been mentioning. And shout out to Fauci. I don't know if y'all know who Fauci is. Fauci is like the little man. He's like one of the leading Lawrence.
Oh, Dr. Fauci, Tony.
The CDC do, right?
Fauci basically Fauci was like,
that's the Tony Stark.
Fauci was like, listen to me. He ain't say it, but he really wanted to be like, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Literally,
I know what you're talking about.
Was literally basically kind of just saying like these things should have been like expected, and he was kind of just even talking about like the lack of preparation that we have put in place like in general when it comes to healthcare, and particularly like actually preparing for apocalyptic circumstances. Like these are things that I think like we see in Hollywood and we don't think can actually happen in real life. And then come to find out, actually, a couple of years prior, when actually Donald Trump actually first got into office, over a span of time, he actually started alleviating. I don't know if you guys remember, he was defunding a lot of programs. He was defunding a lot of programs, and come to find out, one of the programs that he actually was defunding was actually having some scientists that were actually in China at the time. And also, I'm pretty sure a lot of that could have even been due to just a lot of his riffs that he had been having, and just a lot of his like vulgarity that he had been talking about China when he kind of, even before he first got in office and even after. So I wouldn't be surprised to kind of find out, and I'm sure that's just the case, that there was some spitefulness there. But I think his ego is really just continuously, repetitively always what has just gotten in the way of doing what's good for the people. And I think that it is very interesting, because I think it makes a lot of sense, just even like in the time span. So I can see some things that you're saying, Rob, just even with the time span, that, we probably could have had a lot of time to have even prepared differently, even like when things kind of first started even kicking off late last year, and then kind of the little, hints of it here come January. I didn't hear about it until honestly like early March. That's when I first heard about it. And just to see how everything's progressed. And so I think how he's kind of just like flipped this narrative is almost now that he does care. And I think especially kind of even like Rob is saying, you can kind of see how this may become a power play. Because I even think back to like Bush's like era with like him and Kerry, and you kind of think of like the terrorism scares and like, I have what's best for you because I know everything and I have the money and I have the funding, and I've done this. So I wouldn't be surprised to find out.
Yeah, and even Giuliani, like he was like the golden child, of course, because he was he governor during that time or something? Yeah, so like I don't know, it's just like Trump is, knowing him, he's gonna flip this narrative, especially if we were able to go outside by November. Like if we thought 2020 was done, 2020 is gonna be crazy come election time. But yeah, he's definitely gonna use this narrative to push his agenda. And he's probably gonna win, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
He's gonna win again.
Well, it's been real.
Real.
I know one thing. Make my account great again with this stimulation check.
I'll be paying on the back end, so let's.
They said we were out to pay it back.
That's what I heard.
No. Yes, that's true. But like the way this is going, I can guarantee you and me. Well, I'm out of daggone financial set. But yes, Lauren, you enjoying it now. But somewhere down the road, there's no way possible like that America is dishing out this amount of money and like we're not gonna be paying for it some way in shape or form in the economy down the road. No way possible.
Yeah. And
I'm enjoying it now.
Man, and if I see another pyramid scheme joint on my Instagram,
oh man,
Lord have mercy,
bruh.
Is it really
a Zoom call?
Like, is it really a pyramid scheme?
I know it. I know there's a thing where it's like among African and Caribbean culture called susu, where or even in the Chinese culture, where it's a group of y'all and everybody give everybody money. Mm-hmm. But the little pyramid thing, then put your name in and then cash at me. I don't know if it can be trusted, and I'm keeping names and tabs of every single one of y'all too, because you're trifling.
Yeah, friendship.
It's a pyramid scheme, though. Like, really? What?
Hey, man. Yeah, friendship and money don't mix, man. Like, it's, man. I don't like it. I don't like it. I just don't like it, You know, I don't love it. I don't even like it. It can be a really problematic. Because I've had experiences with friendships and money, and it's just like, I love you, man. Dang, why you gotta, get your hand on my pockets for real, though.
Right. It's just cash, and you already want me to just take $100 of my money and give it to somebody else.
Yeah, man.
And then
you'll get it back in 4 weeks.
Right, and then they try to guilt trip you like, yo, you gonna spend it on some shoes and stuff you don't need. And I'm like, bro. Like, you were sending money to strangers. Like, you look nuts. You sound nuts.
I can pay the bill.
2 slots left.
Right, 2 slots left. Mad exclamation points.
Y'all tag me.
Hey,
I'm going to tag the police, FBI.
Right.
IRS.
Exactly.
Y'all going to jail.
Hell.
Wild times we live in, man. But
yeah, man.
But before we move on,
I have been doing good on the stock market, y'all.
Oh,
I'm making money.
I have too.
Word up.
Hit up that Zoom stock.
We can talk about this after the pub.
Some investments.
Yeah, I'm gonna get more.
Huh?
I have to get a little literacy or conversation going on with finances.
Get your bread up. Okay?
I might be needing the dough. Ooh. Entendres though. Ooh, get them.
Is that the lady on Facebook that be making nasty deals?
Wait, what you said?
Oh, never mind.
What happened?
Yo, what's going on right now?
Literally, what's happening?
Yeah.
Never mind.
All right. Well, moving on. The weather today. No,
I'm all the way still big.
But yeah, before we move on to the versus battles, what are like something you all have learned during this time that you hope to apply once we get outside again?
But dress less and go out more.
Dude, y'all know people gonna act up, bro.
Yes!
I'm like not here for the ratchetness, but like I live on y'all know I live on the second floor, so I be on that porch burning my incense, boy. I'd be right in like, I'm like, all right now, maybe, y'all toxic,
y'all toxic,
and I'm glad I'm not sick. Like I don't know, man, I'm cooler for real. Like,
put that shade over the rock. God,
I
what is
am,
that
though.
stage
I
on the
really
balcony?
I'm like the literal am like
Porch. Okay.
Your
Uncle
chakras need to be.
hey, young blood, you see what you're doing now, you tripping, you know, you jab tripping, boy, ain't no back money. We ain't do that, you know?
All these jab turkeys.
Be
Oh,
cool,
my
be
God.
cool. Pulp Fiction, be cool, baby, be cool. You know, but yeah, like it's really wild.
Wow.
I think a lot of reflection, yo, a lot of time, because after like Ozark and Tiger King, I kind of was like, Netflix, you got to chill, baby, because it's getting heavy.
Kill the hubby.
Ooh,
She
here,
did.
kitty boy, good grief, man. Like, whoa, you know what I mean? But I think I took some notes too before the pod. Balance may not be 50-50, but it can still be a equation, maybe 60-40 on some things, maybe 70-30. And maybe some things realize you got to cut out, speak with your actions in addition to words, but actions of self-preservation. And I think probably one of the biggest ones I've learned recently is that you got to either let some people go or modify that relationship in order to grow. And it might mean kicking it with the homie less, you know what I'm saying? It might mean, okay, if they on that type of time, I don't want to be nowhere near that energy because I'm peaceful and positive. So I see you when I see you. Love you, peace and blessings. You know my number. You know where I live. But do what you do, and I'm gonna do what I do. We gonna be cool. How we be cool? So that's been a big one because I'm the type of person, and y'all know me. I pour into loved ones and friends and try to check in and blah blah blah. But sometimes taking a step back and just saying, hey man, I gotta check on me too, and I gotta talk to God and kind of sort some things out, and do that internal inventory type deal. So it's been a lot of little epiphanies and jewels and things like that. And some of it is bittersweet, when it's like, dang, I love my homie, but my homie, they just not on a certain wavelength, and I know what I want to do and plan to do, and maybe they're not in the equation as much, So
that's real.
It's like the water cycle, it's a revolving door. And I think just stepping into that and embracing it as opposed to like, well, nah, they'll be good. But like, nah, I got to make sure I'm good. So, yeah, maturation, you know what I mean?
That's real. That's so real, man. Got to protect your peace. Got to.
Habits.
Because peace will lead to pieces.
You stirred the Lisa Ray in Players Club. Jamie Foxx behind.
Bravo!
Yeah. Oh man. But Kyle, it looked like you had something.
You look like you got some stuff in your spirit.
Like a spur.
I feel it just radiating off of just releasing.
Y'all are ridiculous.
No, I said, honestly, I feel good. Like this has been like a good time. I have like laid in my bed. I have like relaxed. I feel comfortable. I miss people, but I'm actually kind of glad that like I'm still not around people. And I think even too, like it's been good to find a balance. Like it has, like reserving like your energy and like also knowing when to like actually like release it. But I think that what's been cool, that I've had thus far is really like finding a way to like fall in love with myself again, or like fall in love with like certain parts of myself and parts of myself that like I missed, and also being okay with being vulnerable. I've had like two reconciliated conversations like back to back with two people, and one in particular who I haven't talked to in 2 years.
Wow.
And I think I realized that I was burdened by so much shame and so much guilt that I had about just like myself and things that I had done. And I didn't know honestly how to like have a problem, have a disagreement, or have something happen, acknowledge it and forgive and move on. But I really just didn't know how to forgive myself. And
That's so
I think Lawrence is one's catches the spirit.
Oh,
But I think like I didn't know how to forgive myself, and I think that this time has been a time for me to like know that I've done some really hard things, and they've been really painful, but that I don't have to like hold myself to the standard of like shame and like self like persecution. And I think even too like seeing how much like God like really really like continues to forgive me. And I don't have to like I don't have to hold myself to like a pitiful standard. But I think even too, that it's okay to forgive yourself, and then it's also okay to like be vulnerable, to put yourself back out there, to actually like possibly be hurt again one day. Or that also you may also hurt other people in your process of learning. And so something that I really, really want to continue in is being open to scars. And I think it's different when you learn how to like establish boundaries, but when you get to a place in your life where you have so many boundaries that you don't know how to like simply just still take baby steps and walking and taking it day by day, you like you just like shut people out. And I'm really good at shutting people out because I'm also a Cancer and I take pride in it. So it's hard sometimes, but I think I really want to be open to letting people into like my heart again. Is what I really miss doing that, and being okay with knowing that I might get hurt in the process. And I think what's hard is that I miss people, so it's really hard to like do that when you don't have people. In the words of Ari, I need people. I need people. No more get out the room now because it's about to get real. I miss people. I miss people.
I like the PG edit.
Yeah, we know, Dad. We know. We know. Uncle Rob and Uncle Sterling are in the building. We know.
I know. Gonna be using that colorful language around me.
Cousin Lawrence and me will get crazy later. It's okay. Lawrence is like the Christian cousin that's like that Christian cousin. Okay.
It's right. Well, since you done brought me up, let me go ahead and go. Some things I've been learning time of reflection. Stop complaining. Oh my God. I didn't realize how bad I was complaining till I was trying to figure out how to stop complaining. I was like, God, okay, I'm gonna stop complaining. Get ready for work on Monday. Oh God, I gotta go to the job. I was like, oh God, I did tell you I was gonna stop complaining. I was like, dang, it's so real. And then understanding, like, you know how like old church folks like, this battle ain't yours, it's the Lord's. And so I'm just having this understanding of just like allowing the Lord to fight my battles per se. And no quotations, but just like understanding like there's this point in which you get tested by your bosses, you get tested by people, you get tested by family members, and you want to defend yourself because you want to let people know that you're not the one. That, in the words of Amanda Seals, ninjas got me amped up. Ooh, ninjas got me amped up. Not today, not the one, okay? And I just gotta let them know that I'm not the one. But it's just like, God is like, it's okay. It's okay that they trying you. It's okay. Let me handle it. And I'm just like, well, then you better handle it then because I'm just like, because I'm ready to go off. So I'm just like really trying to like, chill. And it's okay that people treat me like I'm dumb because although they treat me like that doesn't mean I am that.
Right.
And so they don't deserve to get a response out of me because I know who I am. I'm a king's kid. And he reminds
since birth.
That's who I am. Okay, and then another thing I'm learning is not allow offense to lead me to isolation. I didn't realize that when I got offended, it was causing me to view everybody as the enemy.
That's real.
When it was only maybe one person that said something, one person that did something. It was like one coworker, but everybody got the silent treatment. And so that's childish. So I had to grow up out of that. I also realized that I'm not about that life. That there have been moments and in time periods where I will stand up for myself, and then there is some periods of times where I literally laid down and let people just put their foot on my neck and watch them do it, and just did not understand truly why. And it was just like allowed. And I can't explain to you to this day why. But I guess that's just going to require some more soul searching on that. And there was something else that I had wrote, but I cannot. Oh, March. I'm so glad I learned about not burning myself out in March, because in March I literally burned myself out, and this was in the beginning of all this COVID stuff. No, let me rephrase that. I'm glad I learned the lesson of burnout before the COVID situation happened, because it would have been so tragic for me working like I was in March and April with all this COVID stuff going on, and I probably would have put myself in a more compromising position, trying to just work and be around this all the time. And so I'm grateful to, as Rob was saying, learning that balance and knowing that balance is not going to be 50-50-50, but understanding what is necessary, what is my responsibilities for this time period, what is needed, what is keeping me whole, what is allowing me to love God more, loving people more, loving my friends more, handling my responsibilities at home, being around people, like balancing those things out. And sometimes it's not going to look like everybody gets a piece, you know what I'm saying? Or everybody gets 50-50-50. No, you might just get 2% today, and you better be glad that you got 2%. So don't mean I love you any less. It's not like me protecting myself and handling my responsibilities does not mean that I love anybody else less. And so, shoot, it means that I love you more. But I mean, I say less.
Cool.
And pray more.
Hey, say less, pray more. Cause God. But yeah, I'll say for me, really, I've learned more and more that I found a lot of my self-esteem and value in my work. So I think what I want to learn, or what I'm learning, is finding that self-esteem in God first, and just knowing that I am enough. Because when I'm pitting my self-worth in work, I can only, I'm limited in what I can do. I get tired, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a robot. So, and that's so up and down. But if I feel like what I need to learn is if I'm having it in a bountiful resource, AKA God, he's always, sustainable and what have you. And so on, I can confide in and get energy from, you know what I mean? So I'm not relying and getting validation from my work, because it's just that's so up and down. And as I've talked about in all 11 Babel episodes, all right, guys, y'all, I sound like a dead, like a broken record. So that really got revealed to me this week. So just trying to carry that through and trying to try not to find my self-worth in my work, because that's futile. But so moving on.
That is so real, Sterling. I'm so glad, because that was putting some weight on you. It was weighing you down. But Lord just lift.
No. Oh, hey Rob, you're on mute. My bad. What you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, like, just knowing you and your work ethic and how meticulous you are, like,
Yes.
I think it's probably like to the point where like it was kind of normalized to you, like I got to do this work, and you do a great job, but also knowing like the things, the hours, the wee hours of working, the toll that it takes, that even subconsciously that you might not even be privy to until you're able to, say what you said, and like being able to say, hey, you know what, I got to talk to God on this one because I know I'm good enough, but God will show you certain things. So I think just kind of pulling back and being able to have that mature perspective, is definitely a salute, because you are definitely one of the people I know. Like, if I send you something, you're gonna send it back. I'm gonna have edits. It's gonna be, but it'll turn out the way it needs to, and it'll turn out great. So type deal. So, and I'm sure you pour that into everything you do, especially work wise. But it takes a toll, man. And like Morris was saying with the burnout,
Yeah,
so it's a lot. It's a lot for sure.
And I appreciate that, Rob. I do. It's taken me a while to get here, but Kyra, I saw you react because you owe me something. I've been asking for this Babel bio for 3-4 months.
Ooh, Lord Jesus. Yeah, I was on that train too, but I had to jump off.
It's been that long?
I said,
it's been that long. Yo.
I said, I was like, Sterling can't, I can't be, let me just.
But I love you.
Okay.
But no, it's cool. If you could get that to me, if you have it on your heart, just in this season.
I'm off for 2 days, and I'm off for 2 days, tomorrow and Tuesday. So if the two of y'all want to if all three of y'all want to hold me accountable, that's fine.
We're in a crowd of witnesses.
Count this
and plus,
accountability
also
from me.
you listeners out there. So yeah.
Oh yeah, and the listeners.
Well, then if we, it's like not a big.
Yo.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all so much, man. For real. Oh man.
Never change, man. Never change. But yeah, speaking of, so as we segue a little bit, did y'all see the Teddy Riley video?
Oh my God.
Right. Rob, I gotta catch. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. Oh my goodness. Let me see if I can pull up some stuff.
The only versus battle I've seen is Neo and John Tay. I didn't even know who John Tay.
That one was good.
That was good. And then I watched the T-Pain and Little John one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard that one was good too. I saw the very first one with Timbo and Swizz. That thing was like 5 hours. But,
yeah,
they didn't wrote every song we know.
And that was probably like a fraction of their catalogs, which is crazy because
probably
they just got hits and hits. But let me see if I can share my screen. So Rob, we'll kind of give you like a. Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
I wonder, can y'all hear it? Can y'all hear that?
Yo, my man, that's my dog, man.
And that delay is intentional. That's how bad it sounded.
Sheesh, man. Oh my gosh. Shit. That's not good, bro.
This is exactly how.
Oh my gosh, man. Yo. Oh
The
man.
windows.
Oh my gosh, man. That's great.
Right, it was so bad.
I guess it's, I don't know. I think part of it is like a sign of the times thing, because some of these acts, like the RZA DJ Premier, like RZA kept trying to get his sound right, and it was like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Oh man.
Honestly, what I honestly think happened is sad.
The window shut down.
I honestly just think that like
Babyface
Babyface literally came on there and did what pretty much all of them were doing, which is like was in the studio by himself or whatever, and
just play the song,
playing the songs and doing the work. And I feel like Teddy Riley, like we know he's like phenomenal, like he's gonna, like we know, so like let's not act like Teddy don't got it.
Oh, he got it. He got it. But,
and it would have been a phenomenal like battle.
But it was actually live.
But like I feel like not it was live, but I feel like there was this like I feel like it was more theatric. I feel like he was focusing more on like giving a show rather than like let the viewers like appreciate the music itself. That's what I think was the problem. And I think he was putting more so like, let me blow him out the water rather than like let us enjoy the quality and like appreciation for the music. And I think that's how Babyface was approaching it and everybody else was approaching it. And I feel like he was like, I'm about to give a show to people on live.
Yeah, it's definitely the Harlem in him. He just wanted to put on a show. But it was wild, like, because he originally got a lot of pushback because he wanted to monetize it. So I know. So he actually like was live streaming on his website, and the audio there sounds like perfect. But it was just that I don't know. He had like 6 mics going on, and it was just bad. It sounded like dialogue. And then like Babyface he's like suave or what have you, but he was throwing some shots. He's definitely like the petty OG. So, but shout out to them. I think they're rematching. I mean, of course, this pod probably will be posted by then, but it's tomorrow. Yeah. So we'll see. I'll be tuned in. But if the audio goes bad again, like the jokes are just gonna be even funnier. But I've never laughed like that in a long time. People are just.
I do have a question. It's kind of a side note tangent, but it still kind of pertains to it. Like, I saw something recently, maybe it was last week, about Babyface having coronavirus, and that was why they postponed it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how was he health-wise? I'm going to check it out later, but how was he? Was he looking okay? Was he looking like?
A lot of people look good, and they look and they feel fine. It's just that's why the disease is so serious, because you don't know who has it. You don't know. I have a friend and her boyfriend. He looks fine, and he caught it. He can't he was doing all the right things. You know, you can honestly look well, you can feel well, and you can be sick. A lot of basketball players have said the same thing. They feel good, they feel fine, and they're still sick.
Yeah.
One time, everybody got
it. It's but yeah, but I mean, I think I mean, besides the debacle, but like outside of that, it's just like shout out to like Swizz and Timbo and for that parody video by Spice earlier. But like, it's just a testament how creative and how we can always create out of like, tough circumstances. You know what I mean? Dating back to slavery, like, you know what I mean? Not to laugh about it, but
before slavery.
Before, exactly.
Y'all know we love to claim Egypt.
Yeah, it's like our You're right, that's fair. We like to claim that as our start point, but definitely before. Definitely before. So that's my buzz. But yeah, so it's just cool like seeing all these like IG lives. I mean, the range of the content varies. Like it can get a little R-rated, but shout out to all the creators like creating but I think the duality was that too. Just there's so much and again, like touching on what I was mentioning earlier, is like there's like this pressure if you're not careful to like throw out, you know, your work into the abyss because everyone's creating and feeling like you have to create. But you know, and I saw this tweet. It was like, you know, don't feel forced to do anything. Like we're in the middle of like a pandemic, like a global pandemic. So if you just want to be to survive, exactly, that's fine. Like you know what I mean. So it's just always keeping that in check too.
Yeah, definitely. I think just being a hip hop head, like seeing even the Manny Fresh Scott Storch one was, I saw parts of that was interesting because I think just seeing certain people and not really knowing maybe their whole backstory, but not really knowing the catalog. And I think hip hop in particular, I mean, it's the biggest genre in the world. And I remember, you know, back in the day, I think it was seen as a fad, as a, you know, fly by night type thing. And I think even once corporate America started to monetize and everything, hip hop kind of took it back and was like, yo, we are still going to be those. I mean, Kendrick want to pull this surprise off of, you know, off of
an album.
Like, yeah, that's wild. I mean, I seen him do These Walls on Ellen, and he had somebody dancing, somebody painting, and I'm like, yeah, this is talk about transcending the culture, man. It's pretty.
And it's still a very young genre. Like I think it's like a little over 40 or years old now, if I'm not mistaken. Started in 75, but it's dope. It's, you know, I don't know, it's inspiring. Very inspiring, you know. And I hope we continue doing a lot of this stuff more often. Even, you know, once we're outside, I keep using once we're outside because that's where it's gotten to. I just miss just being out, even though the introvert in me was just like, you know, unfit. Hey, Nate,
whose kids is at the door?
I don't know. Hey, Nate. Oh, somebody.
I hope it's Nate.
I know, right?
The last episode of Babel.
Right. Paranormal activity.
Candyman.
Don't say that. Man. But yeah, I don't know. This is gonna be a heavy one. Do y'all want to talk about it?
We can.
He said this one gonna be a heavy one. Like all that ain't heavy. When did we ever know to be light? Babylite.
We can keep it short.
All right.
Short and not be heavy about it. Just be short. Sterling, are you okay? Are you okay, Sterling?
Oh, it's hey Hubert. Come here.
It's a dog.
No, a cat. Hubert. Come here. Come here, Hubert.
Hello, Hubert.
Hubert. Come. Oh, he's nervous. Hey,
I'm not ready
can I pick you up?
Just hold on.
You don't want to be picked up. But I don't know if y'all can see him.
Oh my God!
It's orange.
Orange.
Sorry.
Yeah, so he was pushing on the door. I'm like, yo. I got shook. Oh, he left.
That's what's up, though.
Interesting cat, but
yeah, cats be cool.
Yeah.
Are you home?
So I'm in a new spot. So, long story short, so my lease ended at my other spot. Well, you know, my old spot in March. So the end of last one. So I moved into my friend Nate. Well, you know Nate. Right. Yeah. So we so I'm staying here for like the time being. You know, until just figuring out what the next move is, you know. Okay. And you know, this slowed everything down, but so it's my halfway house, but no disrespect to Nate, but it's a nice spot. So I'm paying like month to month here. But yeah, it's cool. It's fine. But yeah, we're gonna be light on this topic, right?
Okay. Yes.
Why is Hubert keep coming in?
It's a little hot.
So is it? Sorry, is it your cat?
It's Nate's cat. Hubert. All right, he doesn't get picked up, but so yeah, is it Zaya? I think it's Zaya.
I think
it's Zaya.
Zaya.
Yeah.
So Zaya, formerly known as Zion, is D-Wade and Gabrielle Union's transgender daughter. And this was like a hot topic. I sound like a label head industry. This is the hot song. But
he's going industry.
Industry. Hit
Joe
record.
Budden podcast.
Joe
With Sterling guy. Is he changing?
Quarantine.
Are you changing?
Quarantine. But so long story short, I think Zaya is 12 or so. So she came out as transgender. I don't know why I can't pronounce that word. Transgender. But there's a lot of backlash, especially among our community, just about like how she could be so young and make such a big, statement. You know what I mean? Like a big claim like that. And I was reading this USA Today article, and D-Wade admitted like he was locker room talk and talking about things of that, like the 90s. Love a lot of things about the 90s, but it was a very toxic era as well. So he was admitting to that and just realizing as a father, like he had to do better for her. But it was just still like, it was just, especially from women, like it was a lot, you know what I mean? It was just a lot of people giving their opinions. We're all entitled to our opinions, but it was just very distasteful, I think, and it wasn't very considerate just of her, you know what I mean? And like, even though she was, she is 12 years old, like we were all making sound decisions at 12 years old. But I guess like, how do y'all feel about it? And do you think she was too young to make that decision, or what do you guys think?
To be honest, no. I really don't. That's my opinion.
Was there tea in there?
Holy water. No. I honestly don't. I think there's probably a lot of other elements to like her experience that we have no idea about. Right. And first, just quickly addressing like, and I do feel a little. I don't know necessarily if Dwayne Wade's ex-wife is in the picture. I'm not sure. I really don't know. Mm-hmm. But I do feel it a little overly exertive. If this is the case and the mother is not in the picture, I guess that Gabrielle Union is more so coming across as like the sole parent for like her experience through like her sole parent in terms of like this experience for her. Yeah. And I do feel like there are probably some elements there of like classism and like, Hollywood. So I do feel like there's probably some elements there. However, I definitely do salute Gabrielle Union, even just for kind of assuming that role in that way too. And also, I mean, she loves her and she loves her kids. Mm-hmm. But I also think that Blackness and Black parenting does not look the same for everyone. Right. And it also does not look the same it doesn't look the same in terms of how it looked before. And I think also, like we've definitely talked about on previous podcasts, and we've talked about like gender, we've talked about same-sex attraction and especially gender roles in a lot of ways too. Yeah. And I remember saying this as well, like a lot of the ideas that we hold about about ourselves in terms of like sex, gender, class, all kinds of things, sexuality especially, a lot of those things we may never really truly know, because when colonization came, it like rearranged all of those ideas. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of us in Africa We were not all kings and queens. We were not all, some of us were concubines. Some of us were freaking like villagers. Some of us were like a lot of things. We all did not live grand lives. So I think that's important to note. And so these ideas that we have about ourselves, we really don't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a relative of mine when we got in a heated discussion. It was an argument, it wasn't a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
She found it very hard to fathom that there's a possibility that there probably were gay and trans people that were actually slaves. And her reasoning for that was that it was probably introduced by white European people. And I think in a lot of ways, people have these ways. A lot of Black people, well, I don't want to say Black, but I think particularly in certain ethnic groups, I think they tend to like equate all of these things to like these like bad myths in terms of like how whiteness has like attached itself to like ethnic groups, which I can see, but I don't think in this case that's the case. I think it's just that we don't want to actually believe that like this is actually a possibility for us in our experience.
Yeah.
Gabrielle and Dwayne Wade, like their experience in terms of being parents are going to look much different than how it has looked in previous years before for Black parenting. But I think for a lot of us, I definitely want to say that my experience is definitely not the same as hers, but I think I can recall like questioning like how I looked and how I felt about myself when I was younger. I think most kids do. But I think that the journey in terms of sexual discovery and sexual understanding, I do believe can definitely date back to childhood. And I also know, especially for boys, those are very, very weird. They shouldn't be weird, but they're very, very weird conversations to have. Sterling, I recall you even did a piece one time actually talking about Bash with Khalifa and Amber Rose's son, which is a good piece. Check that out, people. But a lot of things that especially like we don't even make comfortable for boys to talk about. So it would even be harder for a boy who is really considering transitioning into a new way of life to be difficult to talk about. So, but also something I definitely did want to mention about that is if I were them, I would more than likely definitely assume the same position that they're assuming. And I think more so from this perspective, because it's very easy for us to like say what we would and what we wouldn't do. But the truth of the matter is like, in that circumstance, I think one has to honestly consider like how, like, and it's like, how are you possibly sacrificing your child's well-being mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally? The mind is connected to the body, the soul is connected to like all these things are like encompass one another. And so I think for me, I would have to honestly consider like, would I not call my child the name that they're requesting to be called by, and they're living in my home? Like how is this going to function for them on their everyday life living in this home?
Right.
And I think honestly, the best bet that I would have to do would have to be to play it out, because everything comes about. But also too, like I do think there are some elements that certain naysayers, and I just want to be clear. I think that when Bootsy was saying some of the things that he was saying, I don't think he meant harm, but I think he didn't really care. I don't think he meant harm, but I think he is so like unconsciously aware of like of the gravity of like what it really means when he's saying it. I really believe 9 times out of 10, a lot of these type of dudes really, really just don't even know what they're saying. They don't realize the harm. And then I think a lot of times it's just the pride in terms of like not really wanting to say I'm sorry. And he said I ain't saying sorry. But
you said who was this? Who said that?
I don't know if you like recall.
Oh, Boosie. Oh yeah.
So I don't even think he's fully consciously aware of the grand scale of it all. But I think more particularly, I can see certain elements of what he was saying in terms of like, you know, their daughter's still a child. Like, you know, you have to think like their daughter, she's still a child.
Right.
But I think in terms of it is a true saying, it may be cliche that no one really knows like what goes on in someone's house, and you can't, you know, designate how somebody should govern their home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that makes sense in a way.
Yeah. For sure. Lawrence or Rob, you got a few cents you want to throw into the equation?
I do think that the child is too young.
Okay.
but I do think that there's a difference between dressing up and putting on fingernails versus working towards getting surgery and being on hormone pills. Because I think it is too early for a 12-year-old to be trying to take any kind of hormone pills. But I think that's where a lot of people's minds go. And I think that's where Bootsy mind, even though the level of knowledge about it is Kinyo. But, you know, so in his mindset, it's like, don't cut it off. Just whatever you do, don't cut it. But like no one is no one's going to what's the big fancy word?
Sexual assigned surgery, or sorry.
Yeah, mutilate.
Mutilate, yeah.
A 12-year-old. And so but I also think too that although I think it's too young, the child's parents have the rule or the authority to set the parental boundary for their particular child.
Right. So
if how I would raise my child and how they would raise their child is two different things, because they get, as in my house, I get to set the boundary. And so I think in Black parenthood, I think what the world likes to see is they love to see the aspect of finally seeing two Black parents embracing LGBTQ, child. And to that purpose, it's doing its purpose. But I think for other people, I do believe the parents, you have the right to be like, okay, I know you want to be called this way, but in this household, we're doing this. You can do whatever you want when you turn 18, but as what we're doing in this house, this is what we're doing. And I think when we respect other people's parental boundaries and what they do, because they had the children.
Right.
They're paying 100% of that child's bills and their life, and they're taking care of them. And so whatever you choose to do outside of my parental boundary, you're free to go and do. I feel like when I was growing up, my parents, that was a faithful saying they loved to say, you can get up and leave anytime you want to, And it was just like, well, I'm not, but I was like, I hate you. I can't wait till I turn 18 so I can get out of here and do what I want to do. And so, so I think Gabrielle Union is playing a major role in this child's process. That I don't think we would have seen if Dwayne Wade had not married Gabrielle Union.
Yeah, that's fair, because I feel Gabrielle's very outspoken, and I'm not saying, there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like she, I'm sure they've had conversations, like her and Dwayne, and like I'm sure Dwayne's probably had to come around that, because like I was mentioning earlier, like locker room talk, because I can only imagine like the things his like teammates, friends, you know what I'm saying, and you know what I mean, and I feel like that probably maybe he probably dragged his feet. I could see that happening. So I feel like with Gabrielle, I'm sorry, let me be respectful. Gabrielle, like she definitely, I think, pushed that conversation forward and pushed the need to support Zaya during this time. So, and Lawrence, I just wanted to ask, so like, I get what you're saying with setting those parental boundaries, but I feel like the flip side of that is like, I think that can create a lot of resentment in the home, because, just two like ideals clashing. Do you, as a, just foreshadowing down the road, as a parent, would you be open to having that sit down and compromising, and as far as like that, like a topic like this in particular? Because I feel like,
Can you paint the scenario? What's the scenario?
Like this, for example, if like you had a transgender child, like and they wanted to be called certain pronouns or what have you. Do you feel you would be open to having that conversation, or would it just kind of be like my way or the highway type thing?
I would be open to having the conversation, but I honestly couldn't tell you what I would actually do.
Okay.
Because I think I would let them know, because they would already, for them to come to me about this, not about this, about wanting to be transgender, or they felt like they were transgender. I think we would definitely have a long conversation about, I would challenge their views. I would not just allow it to come to me at face value.
Okay.
We would address it at all levels. Okay,
Right.
so how did you come to this? How do you feel? Do you understand where we come from in this household and our values? That doesn't mean I love my child any less. It's just letting them know, okay, this is where we stand on our values.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like we're kind of like understanding. Okay, so where did this come from? When you know what it is that we teach in this house.
That's fair.
And so having an open dialogue, letting them know that I love them, and then kind of deciding between me and my wife of how we're gonna do it. And anybody else's opinions about it, it really truly wouldn't matter. And so if my child does not agree with what it is that we set down, then baby, when you turn 18, you can feel free to do whatever you want. But I mean, we know medically that the human brain ain't fully mature till 25.
Yeah.
So I mean, but legally, according to Uncle Sam, you are 18 years old. So if you want to go forth and do whatever you want to do, you have the liberty to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
But if you using my money,
yo, I just want to shout out Kyra. You got a ring light back there or something? She tries. This is the first I see you got a ring light, like, you know.
What does that mean?
I don't know if you've seen.
You glowing.
You're glowing. So I'm like, she's showing out because we're doing video for the first time. She's trying to get
light
shows.
is impeccable.
I just have like 2 lamps. That's all I have. I have 2 lamps.
She got a ring light. You got a ring light.
I have 2 lamps. I don't even know what that is. I just have 2 lamps.
I'll show you like a video or something later.
There's no worries.
Had a good job.
It's also hot in here, and these lamps is like here, but I can't be looking all dark. So.
I feel you. Rob, you have anything you want to say, or you want to?
Yeah, I had some thoughts about it. I think I remember. I think it was around, ironically enough, All-Star Weekend when I guess this conversation kind of hit the media, or hit the fan per se, because I know they had it in Chicago, and of course D-Wade from Chicago, and him retiring recently and things. I think it's from a macro point of view, like a public advocacy thing, because I think it's definitely huge when a younger person, especially someone that young, is able to step up and walk into something as daunting as this. Like, it's a big deal, you know. And then took some notes here. I think just in terms of being transparent and living your truth, and I'm sure there were conversations in terms of just parenting in general, and something like this with the magnitude of it. I'm sure they sat down and were like, you know, probably had to see what's what and where Zaya was coming from, and, you know, D-Wade's input, Gabrielle's input, and maybe even a family meeting type of situation in terms of understanding the dynamics of, you know, it's kind of one of those life-changing things. Like, once decision is made, it's going to change everything else. It's going to impact everything else. And I think in terms of the spiritual point of view, I think maybe that in terms of just their own personal relationship with God and how that can, you know, will be navigated and what that means and what that looks like. And I think a lot of times, especially like with celebrity couples and their families, like, they get put on these big pedestals, and we see them as these, like, you know, false idols, false prophets, these entities that just get unblemishable, and then something happens and you're like, oh, dang, they're human. Like you kind of forget because you get so like, if you're not careful, get caught up in that narrative. So I think it just is kind of a pretty humbling moment where it's like, wow, this young person, came to this conclusion, and I think it's dope, because that's your truth, and you can walk in and live in it. Hey, that can be a voice for so many other children that might be feeling those same exact things, but they can't express it because they, like y'all was saying, in terms of being like ostracized or being criticized, being scrutinized, and so I think it's a powerful thing. I just think more so of how it's navigated will really dictate, I guess, maybe, of course, the things we see and don't see, but just how it all plays out. So definitely a lot to, kind of digest and feed from, for sure.
No doubt. So that whenever we say we'll touch on something, it's so relative. But we gotta. But no, it was a much needed conversation. Much needed. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for the sake of time, because I know it's about 10 o'clock on a Sunday.
Do you know where your kids are?
What you say?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Nothing. It wasn't anything crazy.
Rob laughing so, and he's in hysterics. So I know it's something. What'd you say?
I just said, like whenever people say it's 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and you're just like, oh, do you know where your kids are at this hour?
Yo, I ain't got no cheerings.
Right.
Routine line, like it's 10 o'clock. I mean, I can't obviously say it.
All my kids are in the bed. Y'all catch it later.
Whoa, hey y'all, this is real cool. I just like flipped the screen. I can see all y'all at the same time. I'm like so hyped now. Like,
the gallery view.
Oh yeah, you can put it on.
I didn't even know though.
The gallery view.
Cool. Yeah.
Look like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
But yeah, I was saying for the sake of time, because I know we touched on things we want to carry on outside of quarantine. So I was thinking that could kind of be our like prayer request.
Yeah.
So I guess we can kind of wrap up here. Just want to say rest in peace, and I hope I get these pronunciations right. Is it Janet Dubois or Janae?
Dubois. I think it's Janet Dubois.
Janet Dubois. She was in Good Times.
Keeping in the water. Making the way when you can.
Temporary.
Good times.
Crashing and surviving.
Yo, have y'all seen like those videos of like the soul? Like it sounds like a choir singing in like a basement. They could.
I need those in my life so bad right now. What? Fun fact: did y'all know she wrote the Jefferson theme song?
Wow. Oh, also, fun fact: she was Cab Calloway's daughter.
Who?
Oh
Cab
yeah.
And I don't think she knew or something like that. I think she didn't.
You say Cab Calloway?
Cab Calloway's daughter.
Wow, that's wild. Yeah, that's wild.
The American jazz singer, dancer, and band leader.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hey, man,
I think she didn't know him or he didn't know her or something like that, but she found out her birth certificate like years after.
Oh snap! She was a love child.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Out of wedlock.
But she actually looks just like him.
For real?
Like him, actually.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and also rest in peace, of course, to Kobe, Gigi, and this is no disrespect to the other victims that are lost. I don't have all their names in front of me, but rest in peace to them as well. Pop Smoke, and then the trailblazer, Katherine Johnson. Shout out to her. She is her story was told with Hidden Figures a couple years ago. And on the jokey joke side, Deontay Wilder. I don't know if y'all remember the fight between him and Tyson Fury a couple months back.
Oh yeah. No bueno.
So yeah, rest in peace to him too. But
my feet after every loss.
I did want to say, man, of course the Kobe situation kind of threw me for a loop because I think that was the day after we did the pod, and actually right after that I went to my boy's baby shower, which was like so cool and fun and yada yada, and I ended up kicking it with him for a while. And I got back here. I got to the crib, and I looked at the news or something. Nah, one of my homies called me. It was like, yo, you heard the news? I'm like, nah. He's like, Kobe died. I'm like, Kobe? I'm like, what? Like, nah, man, it's not. Like, it was such a difference.
Yeah.
We kind of grew up with him. And I still have the number 8 jersey in my closet. And
wow.
That hit differently, I think, to see, like, someone who is, like, they're this legendary athlete.
Yeah.
But you also saw, like, how impactful they were outside of just that realm. And you know, I really had no idea he was like a doting father. Like he actually like was really hands-on, and that was really cool to see. He wasn't like, you know, just so caught up himself. And that, and then the Pop Smoke thing kind of, that really struck a nerve too, just because seeing someone who's up and coming and relatively new, but a unique style and things like that. And to get to see that played out, I'm like, what? Like, I can't say I was that much of a fan, but he had a little group to him. But just knowing the potential, and he was trying to put himself in a better situation, and then it just got, you know, literally just put out a project before everything, and it just, you know. So it's, I think, just mortality, you know. And I know I'm the old head of the group, but we got my high school reunion coming up this year, you know, later on, and everything got kind of pushed back with all this stuff. But I think just thinking about that mortality and peers from my class who have passed on, and I'm like, man, I didn't rock with all of y'all, but it'd be cool to see some of y'all faces. I ain't gonna
no doubt. No
things
doubt.
like that. So
You graduated in 2010?
Yeah, man.
OG.
Original gentleman. Keeping it gangster. Wakanda forever. Yeah, man.
That's funny. But yeah, y'all. But as we always close out, stay up like gas prices, which are very low at the moment. Shout out to them gas prices.
Well,
I ain't gonna lie. When I seen them drop, I definitely thought of you saying that. I'm like, well, Sterling, you know, I'm trying to stay up with it, man. Maybe I need to stay in the cut.
You better stay down.
Maintain these gas prices. These shows, I don't think they've been this low since like pre-Bush. Like these shows are low.
1999 to be exact. I tell you, young blood, y'all whippersnappers don't know nothing about that.
I was about 4 years old, you know.
Yeah.
Went behind the ears, you know.
You know, still sipping Similac and all
that. We only do breast milk out here.
Breast milk.
Bougie babies out here. Bougie babies.
I did want to ask, what were some of y'all applications in terms of the post-quarantine, how to keep, I guess, you know, some things that you learn and what you want to keep prevalent in your lives, you know?
I just want to survive. That's all.
Here we is.
That's real. I don't know. It's pretty much the same. I was mentioning earlier. Just looking, kind of checking myself, you know, where I find my self-worth. Just continuing wellness as best as I can. And we've gotten pretty we got some Walmart buckets and put bricks in them, start working out with them. So Nate and I felt like we're on the yard or something, but we're making it work. So, you know, just continue to practice wellness and despite everything and all that.
Yeah.
Kari, you about to get you about to go to bed. She got the wrap out.
It's a wrap.
Wrap it up, me.
Oh man, I love y'all, man.
So you ain't gotta go, but she said you ain't gotta leave. You gotta get out of here. Very covert.
Love y'all.
Word.
All right, y'all. Well, maintain those gas prices. Maintain your health and spirit.
Yeah.
And love y'all, man.
Love you guys.
Love y'all for sure.
So much.
Love you.
Love y'all, beloveds.
All right, let me see if I can stop this thing.